Hello, everybody. Welcome to a Path of Magic live stream. Today, we're going to be working on the bronze armor set. You see, heavy armor in Valheim is something that I've personally always struggled to enjoy. So, what better way to playtest this than to actually use the bronze armor set? This armor set that I least like. Because if I can enjoy this, then I'm pretty sure it's a balanced, well-working system, right? So the idea here is to make up for the fact that on higher difficulties in Valheim, and in general, really, magic and also ranged becomes so much more powerful than melee, especially later on in the game. So it's about figuring out how can we make melee more powerful. And on Path of Magic, there's many ways that that is attempted. I would not say that it is successful yet. It definitely still needs more work. But what we're going to be working on are tower shields and the bronze armor set. Although the things that you're going to see will apply to all heavy armor sets. Essentially, you press E to equip something and put it away, right? Or R. And look at that. You get Troll Endurance. All armor sets allow you to do this. So when you equip the item, nothing's going to happen. But when you press R to put it away, you'll get that Troll Endurance buff. And you won't see the animation the second time because it just refreshes. So if you look at it, see how it's 4 minutes something and then it goes to 5? It still is there. And what's happening is you're getting plus 250 carry weight. And the idea here is to give some more practical usage to the heavy armor. Granted, it's at the expense of the mead organically, right? But I have a feeling that heavy armor is more important than one mead from the Bog Witch that isn't immediately available to players. So the thing I noticed already about myself and using heavy armor is I have to actually practice and like use strategy and stuff, and I'm not used to this. I'm just used to running, basically. But see, now with the tower shield you can block, and then you get 15 run speed from that other thing, right? So you can put the tower shield away. And the idea here is to encourage usage of both tower shields and heavy armor. So you can see that every time we block, it'll refresh our tonic of Ratatosk, which is a movement speed increase. So I think I actually have some better ways to handle this. For now, I have to get used to this kind of fighting. One, I'm not used to putting, like, I specifically use the knife so that I can run with it sheathed. So I'm not used to having to, like, actually run away, right? In that sense. I wonder, can you just hold block? I think with the bubble block, that's probably how it works, right? Yeah, my health seems pretty stable. Interesting. This was the idea that, like, you can be defensive and stay alive as long as they're not hitting you for crazy amounts. So it looks like if I hold the block and activate a break of the bubble, then I can go for the parries, right? So I can just make a routine of this, right? Holding the block, breaking the bubble, going for the parries. That's pretty funny. So even though I'm using a tower shield, realistically, you're still able to actually parry with it. Interesting. I'm not against that, to be honest, because as it is, people pretty much just don't use the tower shields at all. So, really, I don't think it's that bad if they're a bit OP for now. Although, I guess, okay, I don't need to try and parry last minute. That's pretty funny. Although this extra parry thing would apply to the bucklers as well. So, it looks like on Palm, you can parry groups of enemies just by having your block up and your bubble breaking, but you having enough health to survive the next hit. So here what we're gonna do is work on this dungeon, basically. It's freshly respawned, so we'll see how our luck goes. But what better way to test things, right? Oof. Trying this out recently because there's some enemies in the game, like what you just saw, the Seeker Brood, that are really, really weak. So they're actually, like, you can place them earlier in the game. And then it gives players access to certain things. Oh gosh, okay. Oof. Okay, so if I break the bubble, there we go. Dang, I need a sword. Now I want to make a sword. The sword has such a long hitbox. It makes it way easier to hit like multiple enemies. Because it's like a knife, a side-to-side swipe, except you just like, you just wreck. Absolutely wreck. Hey, so far this is going pretty well. Well, it's funny because I was just getting ganked earlier, but now that I know that to just hold the shield up, like let's see, am I about to eat my words? We'll see. So it's almost like it's more powerful against a group of enemies. That's really interesting. Because the group is more likely to deplete your shield faster, right? And very interesting. So you hear that noise? That's an attempt to warn the player that there's gonna be more spawning. Because in these dungeons, like, it can seem like I cleared everything, but there's randomized spawning added to things. So like you can be like fine, and then there's like a bunch of enemies behind you. So you have to be aware that you're in danger, because if you think it's just a normal dungeon, then you're in for a surprise. So far, this is pretty solid, though. Not too excessive. I've been trying to tone down the amount of stuff you get in the dungeons, but I definitely like these ancient pots, because sometimes you get, like, bronze or silver. And early on, it feels good. Like, I'm more about how things feel, to be honest, than, like, the logic of them. So, I've found that you can give players a little bit of metal early on, and, like, it seems to work out well as long as they don't have a source of a bunch of metal. So we're gonna summon our little dungeon cart. I'm gonna go with a very simple cart. Just use this. Say bye. Hey, and I patched the carts recently. So now when you summon a cart or you build it, it'll say your name. So this one says Labrat's cart, and then it's also bigger than normal. And this isn't even the stronger carts. There's a bunch of better carts with more health and even more inventory space that you can scroll down. But that's a thing for another time. For now, we're just using this one as is. And the whole idea here is to make the dungeons more enjoyable, pretty much. Because when I've been playtesting the dungeons so far, sometimes it's a little frustrating just how much, like, you spend, like, a little bit of time clearing the dungeon, but then you have to spend, you know, gosh knows how long actually looting the dungeon. And in the case of the Sunken Crypts, it was taking forever. So, ooh, yeah. So what I want to do is make it as easy as possible for the player to loot the dungeons, pretty much. Now I want to stun the elite and then land that jump attack on him. There we go. Hey, yeah. I'm getting the hang of this. Definitely better than my earlier practice sessions. And also, I was good, and I woke up super early. So that I can stream. Because it looks like, basically, I can stream as long as it's when nobody else is conscious. Where I live in Nicaragua. Which isn't actually as far away as people think. It's basically just a central US time zone. It's not like the other side of the world or something. But hey, it is what it is. Hey, we got some tin though. That's awesome. I didn't bring any pickaxes because I have these ooze bombs, and you can mine stuff on Path of Magic with ooze bombs. You just have to stay out of the way because it can hurt you. Well, so far this crypt is much, ooh, I would say much more manageable. I haven't even had to use any of these silver arrows, but why don't we actually use one just for kicks here? You know, they are very, very fun. Whoa, I'm so snippy. Wow, I can move around so fast. Oh, wow. Hey! A builder's box. What did we get? Ralston. Nice. That's awesome. And look at that. We can actually loot most of it. That's so crazy. See, this is thanks to the heavy armor we're wearing, giving us more carry weight. Because remember, the idea is to facilitate the looting of dungeons. And if we can, in the same process, make heavy armor feel more useful, it's nice. Yeah, it's true you can throw stuff on the floor, Pan, but that is very gimmicky in practice, and things fall through the floor and all sorts of other stuff happen. It's definitely easier if there's a container. And also, you can move the carts around. I just obviously find it easier to do it this way. And when you throw things on the floor, you're not sorting anything. Whereas, like, when you put things in the same container, like I put these feathers in there, it's sorted into this full pile here. Whereas when you throw things on the floor, that only happens if you have so many things on the floor that it forces Valheim to do that. But at that point, the chance of those items disappearing or, like, falling out of the dungeon and then getting into, like, a loop, you know, that kind of stuff is pretty likely. So definitely easier to, or it's definitely better for the player in the long run to use some kind of container they can easily access, you know? Like, I think that's pretty convenient. Like, more convenient than tossing shit at the entrance, for sure. Alright, so I guess there's just one more part here, right? One more wing, rather. Yeah. And I'll also show how you can reset the dungeons, because now you can pay 999 coins to respawn any dungeon, and it'll just respawn when you build the coin pile outside the dungeon. It's actually quite intuitive once you get used to it. Ah, it already went in this one. Let's see. Wait, did I not go in the middle one then? No, I went in the middle one. No, I guess this one's done then. This was a smaller burial chamber. And it was so calm. Almost too calm, to be honest. Like, nothing crazy really happened. Feels kind of weird. Let's see. We got plenty of stuff, though, and Grouston, which is awesome. I actually looted one of these and then left the stuff in here, and then the dungeon reset, so I lost everything. That's happened to me a couple times, because I completely forgot about it. And at this point, that's just me not being used to doing normal player stuff, to be honest. That's just how it is when you have resetting dungeons. I'm not that fussed about it. Yeah, Pan mentioned the auto store mod puts things in carts. Yeah, and that's faster. That mod's cool. I don't know why I haven't used it, but I just haven't gotten around to trying. I guess realistically I need a cart out here too, don't I? But now, in theory, we can just run back here. Oh, hey, there's a barrel. Hey, look at this. Got similar stuff in it. Curious. In theory, we can now just make a cart, and it'll be a bigger cart. I haven't actually tested that when I'm not in a dungeon, so let's do that real quick. We need some bronze arrows, or bronze arrows, bronze nails rather. Looks like I need. Oh, we have a little bit here. Okay, so now I can make a cart, and it should, in theory, be a fancier cart. Let's see. Boom. Hey, look at that. Nice. And so the idea there is that, whoa, we don't actually need to, we don't need to make the original cart be so small. Because the other carts can all be based off of the original cart, like relative to it, right? So the other carts can be bigger. It doesn't mean that we have to go with the original size. So I chose to opt for a bigger base cart. And then all the other carts are just like bigger relative to that. Pan says 200 Growston is equivalent to dying 34 times and looting all the tombstones. So yeah, on Palm when you die, it's kind of like on Dark Souls, that it makes like a little grave. That thing, see? And then if you destroy it, you actually get the loot from it, right? Oh, you know what would be interesting? It just dawned on me that what if there was a spell that changed the faction of the enemy? Not to be friendly to you, but like what if I could enrage the troll? So he started trying to kill the Grey Dwarves. Because right now they'll fight with his ghost, right? Who's really powerful, actually. Maybe I should let the ghosts take care of them. Dang. Ghost is facing troll hits better than I can. But I was thinking how right now, like, certain things have these like set forced factions, right? So what if it wasn't like that? You know? That'd be interesting. I wonder how could we trigger the fear though? How would that work in practice? Oof. I got myself. This would be a really bad arrow to use with the root armor. What? Oh yeah, I can mine with these arrows? I forgot about that. That was an accident. But to be honest, oh man, they're so much better than the ooze bombs. To be honest, it feels pretty awesome. So I don't know, like it's not supposed to be that way, but that is certainly way easier than chucking ooze bombs at things or mining things simply. Ah, interesting. That's what's funny about, like, if you keep your mind open and you stop doing things, or I don't know, how do I explain this? It's kind of abstract. But pretty much people, they rely too much on what they plan for. So sometimes some of the cooler features, you have to just play or watch people play or listen to people talking about playing. And then, like, things will accidentally happen, and then you can roll with that and make mechanics that, like, feel more genuinely interesting. And most of Path of Magic has sort of been set up that way, where, like, we try something or I see a player do something, and then it's like, dang, that would actually be genuinely, like, useful. Or fun. And so I've been using these ooze bombs, but to be honest, the ooze bombs feel like, I don't know, they're useful. But I see that they should use the lava blob prefab probably, but maybe not do any damage to enemies. I don't know. It's just so fun to just shoot it with an arrow. That was so easy. So I'm like, it's dawning on me like, what do we want to do? Like, make it so it's, because people pretty much hate getting bronze. Like, I personally, that was one of the things I loved, like being in the Black Forest and that whole experience and mining copper. I get that it's irritating to like go out and get ganked by Grey Dwarves while you're trying to mine because you don't realize that mining makes noise and that kind of thing. But I don't know. I have a feeling if we make it more fun, and that arrow thing, I don't know, that was the most fun method of acquiring ore I've ever personally done. But then it has so many consequences, right? It's like, now what? That was a pretty solid burial chamber considering how small it was, to be honest. I actually found out that there was there was a duplicate Spicer script. So basically, that might have been causing things to double happen in certain situations. Luckily, Expand World Prefabs has some basic like protections against that. So it only picks one reaction out of your scripts for each prefab. So let's say that you have, like, I'm reacting to Grouston being tossed. I could have 100 different things that react to Grouston being tossed, but it's only going to pick one of them each time. Which may sound like you don't want that, but trust me, it ends up being a huge blessing. I guess I don't need to like go around like a fool like this. I could be more patient. I can already tell though how having bigger cart, having a bit more inventory space, server side, yeah, this is the kind of stuff I want to do. So it's just like players don't even have to know about those features. They'll just play normally, basically. Like the tower shields you have to know about and the buffs to the armor, yeah. But I mean, like, you can build a cart and these things, and at some point you'll equip a heavy armor set and press, you know, this, and then accidentally redo the buff, right? So I'm trying when I make features on Path of Magic to make them with that in mind, like, in a way where the player will either learn about it or accidentally do it themselves at some point. That's certainly ideal. And I've also been running out of coal constantly, so let's see, is he alive? No. I was gonna say, I would have been shocked. These guys are always dead when I come back. I don't know how this one manages to die, to be honest. I guess something got him through here. Maybe he teleported. But then they're always gone when I come back. Let's see, do I have enough, I think there's enough coins in the base. Let's see. Although I recently purchased a bunch of stone and stuff, so looks like we'll have to sell some things, and then I can get that back in action. But for now, I'm just gonna take the metal here. There's a lot of metal, dang. And then in theory, we can just toss this stuff on the belt and not really worry about it. We'll see how that goes, though. Okay, cool. Now we have our little cart. How cute. This cart should actually be one of the bigger carts, to be honest. I may as well show that off. It depends how much money we get, though. I've been really good at just, like, spending all of the money, which is awesome, because ideally it's, like, hard for the player to accumulate wealth. Obviously, that's not true in a lot of cases in Palm for other players. The way I've been playing has just used up loads and loads and loads of wealth, though. So let's look for something we can sell. What did we get that we can sell? We have some Surdling cores. We also have a bunch of Grouston that's going to be good for building. Some stone, stuff to put away. But for now, nothing really sellable. We didn't even get that many bone fragments, to be honest. Oh, no. I know what it is. Let's put this away, actually. There's actually a crate over there that has some other stuff in it. I'm glad to see more feathers too, though. Because the feathers... feathers, I've been trying not to... Well, I've been not killing any birds on this playthrough because I like birds. And I don't want to hurt them. So, that's meant not getting feathers normally. But there's loads of feathers in chests when you do burial chambers and stuff. So, in practice, it's quite easy to get them. Hey, look at that. I'm already like... Yeah, see, I would be encumbered normally. So, haha. Haha. Alright. Don't need full stacks of stuff. I don't even need to take all of this, really, but let's go with that stuff. It's interesting, this dynamic of, like, the dungeons respawning and having a base nearby and being able to, like, do the dungeon and accumulate wealth, which you can then use. Again, that's not a necessarily purposeful feature, but it is definitely something that I think has a lot of potential. Let's see, how's our nonsense chest doing? Hey, we got a bunch of sellable stuff in our nonsense chest. Nice. And some other stuff too. Cool. Alright, so I summoned this guy here. And instead of having him roaming around, because they inevitably cause problems, he's in a cage. So hopefully he'll behave. And it ended up being a blacksmith, which was not my intention. This is not the fishmonger. The fishmonger's out there. This guy is just a blacksmith. But he doesn't have any blacksmithing stuff. So for now, we're just going to use him like a trader. Because every verger on Path of Magic has basic trader functionality. Again, another accidental feature. We just use them as traders because they're already in the game. And that way, the diverger that already exist, like when you encounter them out in the wild, if you have like a full inventory or full stacks of stuff you can sell it to them and convert it to coins. You can interact with them that way. And that can be useful, especially if you don't want to like pay the 999 coins. You can find one and then like bring them back because there's ways to calm the diverger down and do all that kind of stuff. So the idea is to get the player interacting with the diverger as much as possible, really. Like, it doesn't really have to be as much as possible, but frequently. Certainly frequently. So I'm just going to put the basic stone and circling cores away here. Bum, ba, bum, ba, bum. I really like barrels. I'm glad that's... I'm glad that Star used barrels. There's just something about the way they look. I don't know. It's like, it's one thing over here, but in like the kitchen, it feels like it makes so much sense. Like, put food in the barrels, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It seems intuitive. Genuinely fits, if I can put it that way. Now, I'm still not completely used to where everything goes, so bear with me. In this case, though, we're looking for... cores. Here we go. Hey, now we have some more circling cores. You see, there's attrition in Path of Magic, so things get destroyed pretty much as you use them. And it makes it so that certain resources that you're used to getting once have to be acquired multiple times, pretty much. And it's a little bit tricky to balance because it's not like the idea is to make the player constantly running out of things. It's more like you have to understand the mentality behind it, right? Because the problem with original Valheim when it comes to a server and a community and the long run and all this kind of thing is that the stuff in the server like will progress out, if that makes sense, because Valheim wants you to only do something once, and then it sort of doesn't give you a reason to do it again unless you're purely enjoying it or something, right? Which happens, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but it's not exactly normal for people, right? What ends up happening is they make something once, and then they don't do it anymore because there's no reason for them, and they keep going up the linear progression, so to speak, right? But that's not ideal for a server. For a server, you want them to have multiple reasons to do many different things over and over and over again over extended periods of time, right? So that way, the world itself is more genuinely immersive because it lasts. Makes sense? So here, I think we can buy the diverger another hour or so if we cover up his line of sight here. I'm sure something is going to just blow this place up, but, you know, at least we can make it so the monster doesn't see him so easily. Or her. Sorry. Apologies. I hope you have better luck in there than the recent ones. Also, maybe someday you guys will stop just vibrating when you can't move. It looks a bit weird. Alright. I guess we're good now, right? We got our conveyor. This stuff's good. Our foreman's back. Now we can use the foreman to get a bunch of coal. As you can see, they'll fill each kiln up. So for 1 wood, you can get 100 coal. And this is, again, a way to make the conveyor easier to use and have actual practical... practical purpose. That way we can just fill the kilns up, and as long as there was a decent amount of coal in the first place, then it'll be fine. We'll see how it goes, though. For now, I have a little bit more money, and I think there's some other stuff I could sell, right? Because really I should use a bigger cart, and now I can illustrate. I can illustrate the more powerful carts. Because there's super carts and ultra carts and boss carts. We're just going to go with an ultra cart because it's outside. Pan says, here I made 8 black metal knives in 1 batch and it wasn't enough. Ah, tragic. Yeah, I can't wait to get to empowering. I'll probably do a whole like series on just empowering something simple, basically. We'll see though, we'll see. Alright. So I guess it's time to probably sell enough stuff so that I can reset the dungeon. And it looks like maybe we'll have enough black cores to sell. Let's see. Cores. Not yet. I'm getting there though. Definitely could sell these. And shield cores also are worth a lot. So in Path of Magic, all of the cores, whether they're shield cores, molten cores, black cores, or surtling cores, they're all worth money. So you can check how much something is worth by finding any diverger or a trader you summon and just toss them any amount of it and they'll tell you how much they're going to buy for it. So here he offers 300 coins for 10 of them. Whereas if I do it with a black core, he offers 600 coins. The message from earlier was delayed there. Interesting. Yeah, so, but it has to be for 20 of them. So notice if I do 10, it's not going to work. Because it's for usually for a full stack. I just found it easier to, like, that way players can know that, like, when they sell stuff, it usually needs to be in a full stack. Alright, so what about this? What about the shield core? Yeah, there was, like, lag or something, so now the messages are a bit behind. That's actually interesting. I might have a typo in that script somewhere, then. Let's see. I just gotta wait for them to clear, and then toss the shield core. And then see what it says. Ah, there we go. Yeah, so the shield core are worth a lot. And they're like a rare drop on Path of Magic, so that's why we have them, even though this is like a Black Forest area. It's not because people like brought them or crafted them. Well, probably not. Rather, it is a drop, and this way you can help make the cores remain useful. Because remember, the main issue is that a lot of things in Valheim just have a one-time use. You know, once you've made your smelting area, you have relatively little use for the cores. But by giving multiple uses to things, we keep them more viable feeling, if that is a way to put it. Alright, I think I'll have enough coins now, because what I want to do is summon a Ultra Cart. And I have a pile of rubies somewhere. Isn't there one more pile of rubies? I swear there was like a 19 thing, but yeah, that's fine, whatever. This'll work, because the Surtling cores give you good monies. Oh. Nice, awesome. Yeah, now we have 900 coins from that, and then we can just toss this stuff as well. Yeah, it's interesting. It's being a little more laggy than normal. I'm not sure why that is. Normally when you toss stuff, it just like happens straight away, so that could be like my connection, could be just something going on with the script. Usually they're quite reliable, to be honest. I've been surprised in general just how much you can add to a server through EWP and it be okay and like the server still functions. Like you'd think Path of Magic would have changed so many things that it doesn't function very well, but the server itself doesn't even use like more RAM. It's like, it's pretty crazy, in all honesty. So we have enough coins to respawn the dungeon and keep doing our play testing of the bronze here. Hey, and it looks like things were successfully smelting, so that's good. That's very good. In addition to that, though, we want to be able to take that Ultra Cart. So, how do I want to handle that? I guess we can go back up here. What was there, like coins here? Yeah, but not that. Ah, that's where the rubies were. Perfect. Yeah, rubies sell for a lot, so we could sell this stack of feathers. The rubies. Yeah, there's probably some troll leather we can sell too, actually, because you can sell troll leather and scale hide and all of the hides as well. I haven't figured out what that means for, like, there's also adjustments to the breeding system to limit it. But there's probably still plenty of ways to get, like, too many hides from breeding to out of balance the coin system, but I'm not too worried about it for now. Yeah, here we go. One stack. Alright, now we just need our 1 ruby, and then we'll have enough coins for what we need. 1 ruby. I knew I wasn't crazy. Well, I don't know that. I am pretty crazy, but I meant that I knew there was a stack of 19 rubies somewhere. And now we have 2 stacks. Hey, we're good now. Alright, so what we can do now is summon our Ultra Cart. An Ultra Cart is, I think, 905 coins, if I remember right. I really hope I'm getting this right, otherwise I'm going to waste all these coins. Yeah, Labrat's Ultra Cart. And then the Ultra Cart has a bunch of storage space. It has double, or maybe it's triple the amount of the normal one. But not only that, the Ultra Cart also has like 10,000 health. Whereas the normal cart only has 500 health. Because carts are getting destroyed all the time. However, there are invincible carts elsewhere. So that's why I want to show off the different cart systems here. These carts aren't invincible, so you still have to keep them safe. But it ends up being alright because they have so much more health. For now, we can turn the conveyor off. It doesn't need to be running. Once you've loaded everything up, then, like, usually it's better to have it not run all the time. So we're just gonna... No, let's be smart, actually. I've learned from before. Once the cart gets heavy, you don't really want it there, but you do want it somewhere that is accessible from the dungeon entrance easily. So let's try something simple, just like this. Can we reach that from the dungeon entrance? Yeah, we can. I'd say we can. It's a little bit clippy, you know what I mean? You got to find the right spot, but that works. I'm just trying to get a system down to make it as easy and as fluid as possible to loot the dungeons, because if I can understand that and how to make it fun, then that's going to be good for everything else. But before I get screwed, let's remember that when you reset a dungeon, it will delete things that are right there, right? So I can't just build the coin pile with the cart there because it would screw everything up. So I need to build the coin pile. Odin takes the sacrifice, and then boom, new dungeon. Now, now we can bring the cart over. Just take care of these guys before they become more of a problem. Definitely got the hang of fighting now that I know about the AoE bubble burst technique. Definitely an accident, but really cool anyway, so I'm happy with it. And now we're going to take the 200 coins into the crypt to loot it. I know that you lose the 200 coins by doing that, but honestly, I don't know. I still enjoy it. And I think because of our earlier situation, this cart is now big enough that we can probably just stuff everything we find in it, pretty much. And it should be alright. Except I want these. I'll take the potion. And I need the coins. I need 200 coins. Not 205. That's going to mess me up. Yeah, alright. So now I can do what I was trying to do earlier, where I find a spot for the cart that is easy to access from the side. That's probably fine. So we can be encumbered if we need to. Look up here, and boom, we have Ultra Cart. Okay, cool. So now we just go in. And we have our new dungeon in a different layout. Let's see how it goes, because honestly, it wasn't chaotic enough for me earlier. Hello, Hilly. Welcome, welcome. So there's a lot of different things going on with melee in Path of Magic. But tower shields in general, the thing that they do now is that they give you an extra buff when you block with them. So you'll see in a moment, hey, we got one of the lucky copper mines. That's interesting. And now that I have these explosive arrows, I guess I have a feeling I'm gonna end up keeping this feature. Like, I know that it's not, it's just so fun. Like, I know that it invalidates mining, but at the same time, that was so easy. And now, like, I don't know, it's just interesting. I feel like that's the way to do it. But with the tower shield, when you block, pretty much you will get the buff from the mead that increases your movement speed by 20%. Because the tricky part about tower shields is that they have a super intense movement speed penalty when you have it out. So it really kind of forces you to make sure that you have it on your back, because then you don't take the movement speed penalty. But when you have the tower shield out, you move really slowly. Minus 20% feels very sluggish. So like you have to pay a lot of attention to sheathing and unsheathing. So I have a theory that by getting the speed buff, we can help negate that. And by making it so that the buff comes from the combat itself, that encourages the player to actually use the tower shield, right? So if I block an attack, you see how the... Oh, no, I actually have to... Yeah, the tonic of Ratatosk. That's what it is. So it's not like every attack. I think it's like a 1 in 3 chance or something like that. But so I can just hold, and on palm, enemies get stunned, right? But this isn't... That's where it's like... it's probably confusing, because there's a lot of different systems going on to make melee more viable. There's 3 just happening right now. There's the tower shield thing that I was just talking about. I guess 4 actually. There's also the armor set bonus for heavy armor, which makes it so that you get the troll thing. So you get 250 more carry weight, right? So you can carry heavier stuff without feeling it's as problematic. This is ideally to give the player more practical usage for heavy armor, because I think one of the problems with heavy armor is it's so combat focused that it makes the movement speed thing really important and feel like it matters, right? So if we can give heavy armor more other uses, then maybe it won't be as much of a burdensome feeling, right? Because I can already tell you that I prefer to loot this crypt in a bronze armor set than not, just because I can carry stuff around like you just saw. It's just easier that way. That was it. I don't know. I feel like these things have become too tame. They're not crazy enough for me. I've been adjusting the rates of the enemies spawning in these things, and I don't know. I haven't seen any crazy nonsense show up behind me or whatever. It is kind of cool how there's this copper node in here though. Because again, armor sets aren't just using the armor, it's also the acquisition process. So if people don't enjoy the acquisition process of the armor, then the armor itself doesn't feel as interesting. But also, if there's a fun acquisition process, but then useless armor, that doesn't work either. It is a complicated balance, I would say. Hey, yeah, that's the kind of chaos I'm talking about. But see, it's so easy now with this copper node and the clipping. Like, oh. All right, maybe I'm speaking too soon. Hey, calm down, calm down. I got my barrier. All right, I think I'm all right. Oh. Oh, yeah, that's right. Wraiths. So bronze armor. Okay. There's so many different things to try and make the armor sets more viable. So many different things. But one of the things is that the armor sets fear certain mobs to make the armor more useful in the next biome. Because Valheim does this linear progression thing, right? Where bronze, for example, will almost always get overlooked by the player because again, people often don't like getting copper and tin and these things and making the bronze. And then also the armor's not that good because you just replace it straight away. And troll leather is comparable and way more mobile, you know? So hey Rocco, what's up, man? I haven't seen you here before. You know, the force knockback thing, that basically already happens when it breaks. Oh, no, because it just does the parry thing. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. For now, I'm trying to simplify the things, because basically I added, usually when I playtest a feature, I'll add let's say 5 different ways that it does something, and then get rid of the 4 of them that seem too gimmicky. Like this is just too, it's so effective that I both love it and hate it. The explosive fire arrow thing. And I didn't want it at first. I had it later on in the game. But then people kept joining, and new players they have a really hard time with all the mobs on Palm. So by giving them explosive fire arrows, it gives them something really intense at the very beginning that they're probably gonna be gonna use, you know what I mean? Yeah, I actually, Rocco, man, I've had so much trouble getting this live stream to work. This is the 9th time I tried to do this bronze live stream. And so I woke up at 3 a.m. And like I went on my roof the other day and I looked at all the cables and stuff, and I found 2 splitters before the coax like bought. Okay, it's a coax internet, obviously that's a problem. But then like the wire goes into the modem, right? And like it's supposed to be direct, right? But in this case, in this case, there were just 2 splitters going to nothing on the roof. So like the signal got split twice before even entering the modem. And like the ridiculous part is it was literally like there's just a splitter plugged into the cable and then nothing it was split from. You know what I mean? It's like why? Like why was this even done? Like to act as a cable extender, I guess? Like it's just like so that basically helped with the internet. Like now I can actually stream if it's off peak time, like super off peak time. So that's why I woke up. For me, it's like, yeah, it's 5:13 a.m. So I woke up at 3 a.m. So I had to like go to bed early and stuff. I'm not super great about going to bed early, so I just tend to, I have to be very motivated to wake up. And then it works. But let's see. All right, I don't need this nonsense. Yeah. All right. Yeah, man, that's a good point. So Raka mentioned that there's no way to filter for the worn equipment quality at the moment. And that is something that will be awesome with empowering, because basically right now the game, like as far as the server is concerned, your character just has the bronze armor. Like it doesn't like know like, oh, the bronze armor is created by Labrad and at this durability level. It doesn't know that until you unequip it and then like toss it on the server. Like now the server knows what that is, but when it's on your character, it's just a visual basically. So it's almost like a true or false. It's like, is the bronze thing true? Yeah, show it. So because of that, we can't make different things happen yet based on the quality level of the equipment or weapon. But who knows? You know, who knows? The reason that would be really cool is because you could make it so when you have like a very basic weapon, it doesn't have the extra powerful effect. But then as you add stuff to it and you increase the level of the weapon, then you get that bonus, right? That would be like the idea behind it. And one of the things that, like the empowering system, I guess I should mention what that is. So in Path of Magic, you can empower items. I haven't done it at all, but empowering allows you to get up to level 96 in an item. So you can like make some crazy powerful weapons and different things like that. But the problem is that it doesn't really work that well with the armor, because like when your bow goes from doing 48 damage to like 250, it makes a fucking difference. So you can take a fine wood bow or even like a crude bow and empower it a bunch and it'll eventually do a lot of damage. But the armor doesn't really scale that way because you just get more armor, which is nice, but it's not like it doesn't feel as nice as the weapons do. The weapons feel way nicer when they're empowered. Like if you empower a shield, like oof, they get a lot stronger. But the armor, it just doesn't really feel that way. Especially when it's expensive armor. Like there's just not much reason to empower it and have to make like 20 sets. Ah, it was a 2-star. I was distracted and I forgot it's a 2-star enemy, so I can't just like deal with it. That's better. I was gonna say I didn't die at all. That feels lame. Honestly, like I need to be taught a lesson. Otherwise, I don't know. I feel like I'm not being put in my place. I'm not, then the game's not doing its job. Basically, what happens is I get comfortable and then I start not really thinking and just like button mashing and stuff. And it should kill me when I do that. Like that's what I want. But also, I often get distracted speaking, and then I do something stupid. Like earlier, the other day, I was in one of the boats, and I crashed onto this island, and there were 3 serpents. And I was like, ah, I'm fine. You know, everything's fine. And then a Lox came along, and the Lox freaking ganked me. And so now there's this epic boat just chilling somewhere on an island of plains after I got ganked by a Lox. Just thought that was pretty hilarious. Let me just put this stuff away real quick. Alright. Ah, I know what else happened. I lost my rested buff. I noticed that I lost it, but I didn't pay much attention after that. I guess before I go back in, we can just toss this back on real quick. I would assume these things, they're usually full of ore, but they don't have enough coal. Yeah, 0 coal. 0 coal, yeah, alright. Well, this should help out then. Hey, little rooster's up. If you've ever played Zelda, I'm sure some of you have played Zelda, right? You know how there's that quest to go to Lon Lon Ranch? Not quest, I guess. I think of it as a quest, but part of the game you find like the sleeping guy, the father, Talon or Malon, whatever his name is. And you have to go back to get like the rooster or the little chicken to wake him up, right? And what's hilarious is like little roosters actually work that way in real life. You can use them like an alarm clock. Like I have 5 chickens. 2 big ones. Sorry, we used to have another one, but it died, and then we got some more little ones. But so we have 2 big chickens and 3 little ones. And the little rooster, he's literally an alarm clock. You can take him like on your hand at night and then put him like somewhere near your bed, and he will wake you up at like 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. like a machine. It's really, really funny, to be honest. And the little roosters are adorable. He's cuckoo cachooing. One second. Let's see. I brought little rooster here. Usually he keeps going. We'll see though. He might be too frazzled. They get sort of like triggered. Like if you've ever sneezed a lot and gotten into a sneezing fit, and then like you can't stop, or you get like hiccups. That's what happens to roosters. It's really hilarious. They get like they start getting this look in their face, and you're like, oh, he's about to start singing. It's really funny. So for now, I'll just put him up here, and you're bound to hear him pretty soon. Yeah, he has a little spot. They're really cool. People say they're aggressive and stuff, but people are full of shit. Roosters are really cool, and they're aggressive when like you raise them around other roosters and they fight, and you raise them in a cage. But they're actually like really, really, really cool creatures. Chickens in general are like that. They're just way, way cooler than we give them credit for. I've met some really cool chickens, to be honest. And a true tragedy to live to be what, I was 29 before I picked up a chicken and held it. What a tragic reality we live in, where humans live to be so old and they've never even touched a hen. You know, these creatures are so beautiful, and they bring us eggs and teach us how to be patient and all sorts of stuff, and we just eat them and complain about them and make them seem like they're stupid so that we can justify it, you know? Don't get me wrong, I eat chicken sometimes. I'm not saying like you're bad for eating chicken. I'm just saying like we're pretty silly in the way we handle all these things. I really like hens. Hey, there he is. See, I told you. I told you. He's gonna do it again. What do you think, little guy? I should get a camera so I could show you off. Once you have them, what's really interesting about them is if you just have one in a cage, like the roosters in particular, they're like hesitant to trust people. So they're always going to be more cautious than the hens are. Whereas the hens, like, you know, you feed them and stuff, they love you. But I've learned that with little roosters, if you get in the habit each day of holding them and like moving them around, like this guy, at this point he just lets me do whatever. I just take him with me. I can put him on my shoulder. I can do all sorts of stuff. But if you don't like hold them, then they're not going to be comfortable with you, and you can tell like you can tell if you watch someone's YouTube video and like the rooster's running away from the person, like pretty much if you can't just like sit down and like pick them up, they don't really trust you. And I'll move him because I'm sure it's probably annoying to you all. But for me, like hearing that noise, it brings pure, unfiltered joy deep into the recesses of my soul. And it's like the way his little eyes, the way they look, and the way he gets all excited. It's so cute. He's just adorable. People need more roosters, to be honest. More little roosters. I think I did this whole tomb, right? Yeah, there's something... I don't know. Something was happening before where there were more enemies. Now it feels like it's almost too easy for me personally. That's how it feels, but maybe that's good. Maybe that means it's balanced because I have a penchant for destruction and chaos. But one second, I'm gonna move little rooster. Where do you want to go, huh? All right, there we go. Now if you hear him, he'll be off in the distance. Much more reasonable. I wonder, let's see. So in a crypt, if we pay 1,000 coins to redo it, right? That means that this is our cost right here. So we did actually profit from it, which is interesting. I want to see, like, I really want to get a feel for this loop of doing crypts, dungeons, looting them, respawning them, see the kinds of building materials one gets from it. Because I have a theory, well, I have a couple different theories, but one of the things I'm focused on with Path of Magic is learning in general how game servers remain viable over the long run. Because, like, if you think about it, even with Valheim's like linearity, if you think about the cells in your body, they're all linear. They're all like living out their life and then gonna die. Yet you are not. You are able to exist from year to year to year to year to year, right? You don't cease existing because of that. Even though each individual cell in your body is dying and being reformed, right? So it's the same notion with a game server. You have to figure out how you can have people coming and going over time in a way that, like, works, if that makes sense. In a way that there's people coming and going continuously. And that, on Valheim, can be quite tricky. It's really easy to get someone or people to join a fresh Valheim server, but it's generally challenging. Not always. It depends on the community. but it's challenging to get people to stay on a Valheim server, especially after like, let's say 6 months. So if you're able to do that, that's an indication that you have something going on that other people can't. They can't like reasonably access for whatever reason. And on Palm, we work around that in a couple different ways, but the thing I want to focus on is this notion of dungeons and bases, and building and dungeons. I think they all play a key role in this picture. So it's all about how to balance all of it so it plays together. So that the player can do dungeons, profit off of that, just find one dungeon. They don't need to find some great perfect spot with all the different dungeons. Just one spot that looks nice with a dungeon nearby. You know, this is a base fueled by burial chamber. You know, another time I'll do a base fueled by a mountain cave, etc., etc. But for now, this part of the experience is more, well, in all honesty, this is the part of the experience that players care about. Players of Valheim care about the Black Forest and the Meadows. Realistically, and I've given up trying to get them to go elsewhere. In my head now, it's all about bringing the game to be more accessible there, right? I didn't mess that up, did I? No, okay. I was like, the cart, no! Alright. Oh, did I? Oh no, I did get my body back, okay. I thought I left my body in there and then reset it. Because if you do that, yeah, you can delete your tombstone that way. I don't know what to do about that, to be honest, because I could fix it. But also, it is kind of fitting. So, I don't know. There's a lot of, like, times where, yeah, this is obviously an unpopular game designer opinion, but loss is a really important thing for players, but they hate loss. So, like, it's not like they're ever going to be happy about you speaking about it that way. Hey, it has the crafted by Loki thing. That's cool. But pretty much, like, people sort of need to be able to lose things in order to appreciate them. And in general, people don't appreciate something unless they've lost it before. That's just like a life thing in general. It's not just with video games. You can rely on people to take things for granted for the most part. Not all the time, and everyone's not always like that. I'm not saying humans are, like, bad. I'm just saying, like, that's how life is. People tend to take things for granted. And the same thing happens in video games. So loss is an important thing to manage. But, like, you have to make sure that the player doesn't feel, like, totally screwed over by the loss, but motivated to not do that again in the future, right? And a lot of game design is, I guess I can be kind of critical of it. I'm not really talking about Valheim, to be honest. I'm talking more about other games. But a lot of game design is, like, too... It's not like it needs to be harder on the player. It's just, like... Too many studios have listened to what players say too much. And, like, players... They know what they dislike, like, in the moments in these things. But most of the time, we don't, like, really fully grasp what needs to be done in a game. And because we want things to be convenient, we tend to encourage things in a way that ends up not making the game that we want. So, like, players will reliably get in the way of the game that they like if the developer just lets that happen. It's complicated because at the same time the players have all of the knowledge. Like, they know what's really worth doing. And like, I'm not saying that's not true. It is true. But also, like, in our era, yeah, people just, I guess it's more because the games aren't really about game design, right? It's kind of like a feature that increases the stock price of the company is a really valuable feature to the company, right? So those are the things that are going to end up getting spread around and in the games more. So we end up with a lot of games that have all these features that at the end of the day indirectly cause the player to do something that's profitable. And it doesn't really have much to do with what is fun. And so I think that's part of the problem is that, like, it's not even that game developers coddle the players, it's that the marketing aspect needs to coddle the player to make the player fall for whatever it is that they're falling for. Makes sense? So, like, without the coddling of the player, it's harder to, you know, how do I put this? All right, there's a lot of money made off of whales or players who feel like they're the best. And by coddling that mentality, usually an insecure male, in many cases, it's preyed upon. Like if you look at ads for things like Hero Wars, for example, like notice there's always an evil woman. Like always, every single one of their cartoons shows like an evil woman and then like a guy, and they make the character look like they're doing something stupid, right? And they're literally trying to antagonize the like egotistical, insecure males who dislike women into then becoming a whale on their platform and manifesting their energy through purchasing things and making them money. Like, it's like, that's, I know that sounds absurd, but I'm not kidding. That is how they make money. And that industry of those, like, the microtransactions, in many cases, like, that's where the money comes from. It's these individual players who literally spend tens of thousands of dollars a year. Like, and so, like, we get games that are catering to that one dude. Like, you know? And, like, they make it look like that's not what they're going for, but that's definitely what they're going for. That's why they function that way. That's why the ads are set up that way. So, like, it's you know, it's just a pain. And that mentality it's present in a lot of game design, like, way more than I'm comfortable with. That's one of the reasons I like Valheim, because for me, Valheim seems more like one of those games that is a game. If that makes sense, you know, like, a lot of games these days are more focused on other things. They've been, I don't know, polluted, I guess. Whereas, like, when you play, like, Fallout 1 or Valheim or Diablo 2, like, these games, they're just good games. They're games that were meant to be games. Like, it's like we make fake games now. Like, what the hell? Like, that's so dumb. The things we make, and they're like often not even games. They're like gambling and addiction products and all sorts of unethical things. It's like how did we make something worse than like slaughtering demons in hell and all sorts of blood and violence and mutilated corpses? Yet somehow that seems innocent compared to the nonsense that we peddle now, you know? It's like, really, it's an interesting turn of events. Although I guess that's just how it is, you know, gaming is always getting ruined by marketing. Like every 15 years or every 20 years, the industry collapses because a bunch of marketers buy a bunch of IPs and then just run the quality into the dirt, right? I guess that's just how it is. Hey, this sounded a little more chaotic. Let's see. I'm really not digging how easy of a time I've been having so far. I want some more chaos, but then again, at the same time, maybe this is for the best. At this point, I am reasonably geared. I know what I'm doing. I have the mechanics in mind. So I don't know. It's always hard to tell, like, to balance things as one of the people who makes things or works on them. It's like you have to keep in mind that for you, it should be easier if you're targeting other people. And I'm not necessarily targeting other people now, but I want to make Path of Magic, I want to develop it into a thing that's like a layer that you just put on your server, and it doesn't matter what world you have, it will work, basically. So, because I have this feeling that there's all these like Valheim worlds that are old and people they have all this attachment to them, but like it's boring for them because they've gone through the progression normally. So if I can provide people with just like a little patch that you put on your server and then you can put it on any world, and then it makes the world itself more viable and interesting and challenging, I think that'd be pretty cool. It's like an abstract Frankensteiner. You can bring your old world back to life in a new way, you know? So, I don't have anything I can sell this guy. It just doesn't really matter. So the thing I'm trying to figure out though is like, why do the crypts feel so different now? What? Whoa. Dang. Yo, yeah, I've been killed by that before. So like, that's why I was like, dang. Something just feels, I don't know, something's less intense about the crypts. Like there's less monsters now or something. What did I do? Or maybe I'm just, it could be that I was doing sunken crypts. So because I'm used to the sunken crypts and I came back here on the same character, it feels, I don't know, maybe the fact that I am feeling like it's a bit too easy, maybe that is an indication that it's balanced. Because there are the dungeons, the first dungeons. But at the same time, I don't know, I really want the dungeons on Path of Magic to be very challenging. Like, I like the idea of the dungeons being harder than the biome that they're in. I feel like that adds more depth. But we'll see. So what's the main difference so far? It looks like, okay, so this part, for example, this is some craziness, right? Oh, hey, oh, whoa, whoa. There we go. That's better. I'm just trying to, that was happening more often before. And like, that's what I want. I want, when I feel confident, when I feel like I've figured it out, for it to trick me. Like, basically, because that's how I stay engaged and I stay interested. I need to feel like I can have an experience that's sometimes easier, sometimes harder. But so that's something to wrap the mind around while this playtesting is occurring. It's like, what else can be done to the dungeons? Because the more depth the dungeons have, the better. Like, it's just better. It's that simple. But how to reliably have that happen, right? It's easier said than done. I know that the building is part of it. Getting materials, even simple things, you know, stone, copper, metals. That's definitely part of it. And there's some balance to it, you know, of different... How did that happen? Oh, they destroyed the cart? Those bastards. Well, that's fitting, to be honest. This is the kind of shenanigans I'm hoping for. Ooh, ooh, ooh! I didn't like that at all. No, 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 no! Whoa, 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 whoa! Oh yeah, I don't have corpse run. I'm running around as if I have corpse run. Ooh, ooh, ooh! Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh! No, wrong way, wrong way. All right. Hello, Mr. Skeleton. You're gonna help me. We'll probably be alright. Let's see. Uh-oh. Nah, we'll be fine. I got my bubble block. Alright. I gotta go for the break, that's right. See, I love that. The way that feels is what I'm going for. Like, if you rush, you die. But if you're patient and you use the blocking, you can handle a group of enemies, right? But if there's one that's like too powerful, then you'll have problems, right? Like right now I'm vulnerable, so if I got hit in that moment by a stronger mob, which I did, right, that guy. Ah! See, that's okay, so that works for me. For the defensiveness. So I'm liking how the practicality of the armor feels. But the thing that I'm wondering about more is the dungeons themselves. Like, because technically you can make like a variant that triggers, right? So far what you've been seeing is the same dungeons, but the yellow mushrooms can turn into many different things, and the monsters can spawn extra stuff. Many different things can occur and happen. But it's still just each individual weight, right? It's not like there's a variant, so like this crypt is full of that, and that crypt is full of this. Make sense? I have a feeling that's the key to increasing the feeling of the dungeons, because it needs to be fun over and over again to the point where like you want to redo them, like, because it's genuinely enjoyable. Even if you've already gotten progression items, you still get enough coins or whatever that like it's relaxing or interesting. That's the loop that one is going for. And I think what we need is a little bit of spice for the dungeons, let's say. Like a little bit of variability. And we already have an example of this in the Sunken Crypt, but not in the Burial Chamber. And the idea is that occasionally you have an altered version of the dungeon. So like these are just the regular Path of Magic burial chambers, let's say. But if I were to keep respawning it, maybe sometimes I get a super hard version. Or, I don't know, like a version that has, it's all swamp monsters. Or maybe it's all Grey Dwarves, like it's a Grey Dwarf den. So instead of skeletons, it's Grey Dwarves. I don't know exactly how to manage that, but I guess it would be pretty simple if the spawners were replaced with Grey Dwarves. That sounds like a doable one, to be honest, because I guess there could be two versions. There could be like this kind. This is just the normal one. But then there could be one where it's all Grey Dwarves. And then there could be one where it's all swamp monsters or something. And the Swamp Monster one could be rare, while the Grey Dwarf one is more common. Just a guess. We'll see how it actually plays out, though. But I am loving the idea of a Grey Dwarf den, especially because when I first played Valheim, I had an experience where I went around and I actually thought there were like Grey Dwarf towns, but then I found that it's just Grey Dwarf spawners, and then I realized that that's it. Like there's a Grey Dwarf spawner that makes enemies, or they just show up around you, and that's it. That's the Grey Dwarves. There's no more. That's it. That's the whole mechanic of how they get produced and where you'll find them. And they show up when you cut stuff because you make noise. So like once I learned that gets triggered, it then changes the burial chamber to be the other variant of itself, right? It's definitely an interesting concept. I'll probably roll with that another point, but so far this is going quite well, to be honest. I feel good about the state of the heavy armor for the moment. Definitely, I've learned that I don't like it when equipment does too many different things, because the player is already used to how things are with Valheim. So when each thing, they also have to learn, like, it does this, and that, and this. I don't think that is good. It's better that there's just one extra thing, and that extra thing is, like, fairly clear. You know? So, like, I have heavy armor, so I get this. That's it. I don't also get something else because of the heavy armor. Although I do also get something else, a hidden buff, let's call it, because of the bronze armor. But honestly, that's more meant as like a fun experience for a player to find out, not for them to know about and like be motivated by. But basically the bronze armor fears wraiths, trolls, and abominations. So the idea is it makes the swamp easier because all of the abominations and the wraiths will run away from you, right? Whereas in the iron armor, they'll attack you. And that's the idea, is to make each armor set like particularly powerful against mobs of the next biome. I think that by spicing up the linearity a little bit, we can make things, let's say, last longer in that sense. Hey, there we go. Now that's all fired up. So now we can see the coal got far enough that I can just turn this off. And we can go back to looting the crypt. Yeah, I had a full inventory and they destroyed my cart. Didn't they see it had my name on it? It was labeled, too. Those bums. Oh, my dagger is about to break as well. Classic. I think this was most of the stuff here, though, right? Yeah, now we have to the left, I think. I already went this way. Did I clear this whole area out, though? Doesn't look like it. Oh, lucky. See, I like... One of the reasons I've been playtesting these dungeons so much is because I really like the generation for these dungeons. And I think that there's a lot that can be done by just populating what already exists with more relevant and useful things for the players. You know? Especially, like, building materials. And that can allow what they've already made to be experienced more by the player instead of being sort of ignored. Because, I don't know, especially, like, with a first-person mod or something. I love dungeons in Valheim. I think they're really cool. That's why, like, I definitely prefer it when there's a dungeon in each biome. But maybe I'm just old school or something. I guess that's not hip anymore to to think that way. Oh, I didn't have my shield out. All right. Oh, and my knife is broken now. All right, we gotta bring out the silver arrows that I don't have. I didn't use all of them. What did I do with them? I don't know. Is this gonna work? Oh. No. Hurt me too much. No, don't do it. Oof. He almost got me. Well, the explosive arrows certainly work. Though they do have quite a lot of AoE. Yeah, see, areas like this is cool. Like, genuinely interesting. Maybe I'm weird, but I like this kind of dungeon crawling. Uh-oh. Ooh, brutal. Yeah, fire arrows and Fenring. I bet that'd be a great combination. Just set yourself on fire and it won't even matter. But this is the kind of stuff, like, yeah, I enjoy this kind of dungeon crawling. Like, personally. Oh, did I heal just in time? I did, and then the ghost killed me. I was looking at my health bar, because I gotta heal just in time to survive the burning. See, this feels better to me. So maybe nothing's really missing in the sense of, like, the monster depth. Because I feel like, I don't know, I could be ambushed a little bit more. It seems to be the monsters that I see are what I get. I haven't had too many experiences right now where, like, I think an area is clear, but then there's a bunch of monsters that show up there. And that's the kind of thing that I know other people don't like that, but I don't really care. I'm probably going to do it anyway. Because I feel like it's like a depth thing. Like, there's times where we have unpleasant experiences, not because the mechanic itself is inherently unpleasant, but we're used to something else and we expect something else. And because we expect it to be easy or expect ourselves to be fine, we get angry when we're not. That's like a recurring thing, right? So, like, oftentimes the player's expectation is more relevant than, like, the actual mechanic itself. That's why, like, telling people about stuff is kind of tricky, because if you tell people about mechanics, they base that off of expectations. Whereas if people just experience a mechanic, then, like, their expectation is based off of an experience instead of an assumption. So in general, it's better to just change something and then see what people do and, like, how they behave. That's a more reliable way to gauge if something works or not. Whereas if you ask people, you basically end up getting lost in, like, a bunch of discussion and debate that ends up being based on assumption, which is worthless. Like, it doesn't matter how experienced a person is. What matters is observation, and then, like, doing things based on observations of people's behavior. That's what matters. There's no, like, good ideas, if that makes sense. Hey, Constantine, welcome. I think Constantine, and this is Ping, right? That's your in character name. Constantine says, "Hey, I'm tired of rebuilding the plains base. Time to watch the stream. The conveyor works awesomely. Hey, you've been using it? Hey, that's awesome. At this point, I guess it's like probably like the 9th revision. Dakar's revised it a couple times, and then I've revised it 3 or 4 times to focus on, like, making it playable, if that makes sense. Because when Dakar released, ooh, nice treasure room. When Dakar released it, it had all of these visual animations, so it looked cool. But unfortunately, if you had like 100 conveyors all going off in the same spot, well, then it, like, the animation would, like, get wrecked, right? So it was just a little bit problematic in that way, but ultimately he was able to fix it, and he just adjusted it a little bit so that it doesn't do the animation, and then boom, it made a huge difference in the frame rate and the quality of like the usability of the conveyor, if that makes sense. And we also increased the range by a bunch. It used to be 1/3 of what it is, and so we tripled it. And that seems to work pretty well. The only thing I want to add to the conveyor system that I haven't added yet is make it automatically turn itself off when a player leaves the area. Which would be really easy, because it already has a loop that's like making the noise, if that makes sense. So it'd be quite easy to make it so that part of that loop is checking to make sure there's a player nearby. And then if there isn't a player, then it stops. And the reason for that is because there's like this gap between where the player is close enough to activate it, but not close enough to fully activate it, where the belt will like stack up its animations when the player comes back to the area. So I can prevent that from happening if I just make it so the belt turns itself off. So I feel like that's like the last thing about the conveyors that I genuinely want to fix. Whereas everything else, it's like, for me, I want them to be at a point where if you build a conveyor system, it will then save you time smelting things. As long as that's true and it's fun to use them, like enjoyable and interesting, like that's what counts, because it's one of the ways to add depth to the building experience. Just like may not seem related to the dungeons, but the dungeons and the building experience, it all comes together to form this loop, right? And then that loop produces a more long-term, enjoyable server by motivating players to build things and share things with each other. And that's why I like Palm. I doubt I'll ever, at least the server version of Palm that I run, it'll always be no map, no portal. Simply because it's so much easier to manage players that way. Like when you don't give the players maps and portal, like GPS, like you then gain that as a reward, right? So like on Path of Magic, there's areas that teleport you, and like that's a big deal because you can't teleport yourself. But if you could just make a portal, then like who cares if you find a place that teleports you somewhere else? Like maybe you'll care about that the first time, right? But in the long run, is that going to be how it plays out? And it's that recurring theme of like make things more in reasons to or by finding different incentives and reasons that you can give to players to encourage them to do the things that they need to do, or to do the different mechanics. That's the idea behind it, right? So at this point, it's doing pretty well. We could reset again if we wanted to. I guess that's what I'll do. I'll reset one more time, and we'll see how that goes. Do I have some stuff I can sell? I want... This is enough to reset the dungeon, but then I also want... I want to summon a cart. So I need... There we go, that works. Or maybe I should sell bone fragments instead, yeah. We actually sort of need the feathers. So we can just toss things to the conveyor foreman. Nice. And there's our 200 coins and our reset coins. Just turn this off for... Actually, I guess I can leave it running a little longer. It actually takes stuff a while to travel all the way down the belt. But it works. So we can reset this now. I don't have anything just chilling there, right? No. And the cart is over there in relative safety. So let's re-roll the dungeon again. And so far, I like this balance. We're not getting a ridiculous amount of coins because we have to pay the 999 coins to do the reset, right? So that's a little bit of attrition right there. But it's not too little because ideally each time you clear one, you get at least enough to reset the dungeon, but more than that, right? So we don't have that many more coins, but we do get all of these other resources. We've got copper, different sellable things, different equipment, etc., etc., etc. So far, I would consider this to be relatively balanced for me. Well, for what I'm going for on Path of Magic, rather. But we'll do one more dungeon here in a moment. I'm just going to take the hens outside because it is now 6 a.m. So, good morning. Well, good morning to whoever it's the morning for. I'll be right back. All right. Welcome back from me to you. So let's see. We just need to bring our ultra cart back over here. I'll probably work on clearing this up a little bit. Doesn't need to be so clunky. That's okay. For now, that's fine. We have some decent stuff here. Got some food. All right, let's see how this goes. I'd say the first one, the first two resets were all right. The previous one was solid. Although I feel like there could be more ambushes. That's my only takeaway so far. More ambushes and more variability. Like, there needs to be a variant of each dungeon. So I want to make a Grey Dwarf variant, and also, I guess an undead variant, but maybe that's not even necessary. Maybe just the Grey Dwarf variant is a good place to start. That would be relatively simple. It's so funny how they get knocked back like that. What's up with that? Is that because I have like happening earlier?